Hello, this is Shane with Healthcare Manager's Playbook, and we're going to talk about a recent post based on going to the Gemba in healthcare. And going to the Gemba, it borrows from lean in. It's a Japanese term that describes going to the actual place where work happens. And in our world, it would be going to where patients are receiving care, going to where clinicians are interfacing with their computers, going to the actual hospital floors, getting out of offices, getting out of our comfort zones, and spending time watching care be provided and see how it goes. So that's really the first spot in process improvement, is needing to understand the work as it's happening with the clinicians doing the work, with the patients receiving the care, and in the places that this is happening. And we just need to see it with our own eyes sometimes. So going to the Gemba is that spirit of, if we're going to have responsibility to fix something and to make it better, we need to take the time to really understand that work from a day in and day out standpoint. And it's really tough to do that if you've not actually seen that work in place. Think of some of the electronic medical records and just go and revisit and go, did they really test this out with a clinician in a clinical environment with a patient right in front of them? Have they designed the record to be easy to interface and access in the spirit of point of service documentation? But I don't want to focus in on a negative side of it. I want to focus in on what the positives can bring when you go to the workplace. But before we jump into some of the benefits, let's talk about some tips that can help you prepare and be a more hospitable guest when you are visiting the workplaces. So tip number one, just take your time. Mark off enough time where you can spend in that environment with that person without feeling rushed. And if you can't squeeze it in that time that you have allotted, then come back again. Just say, I'm going to do what I can in this 2 or 3 hour period. And then if I can't really get a good understanding, I'm going to come back and visit it again. And this happened to me one time. I was looking in outpatient admissions, very surprised as to how many different variations were at each step along the way in that process. So for me to really understand and see what happens at each of these potential variations along each of the steps, it wasn't something that you could do in just one visit to the workplace. I had to come back almost every day that week and spend 2 to 3 hours each day to really be able to put all that back together again. So take your time, number one. Number two, be respectful. This is the work environment. The job is very meaningful for the person doing the job. We don't want to come in with a spirit or an aura that feels like we know more than they do. We don't. We don't work in that job every single day. We are a guest in their work environment, and we want to be respectful. And part of that means we're not going to point out things that don't look to be maybe how we think they should be. One, we might be short-sighted and might actually be okay. We're just rushing to judgment. We don't want to appear to be authoritative or knowing all. We just want to sit back, be quiet, and watch and learn. And then after you get a few reps, which is the third is be patient. Get repetitions in with seeing different patients come through that system. Don't be rushed into feeling like I saw one patient go through, so I feel like I know everything that's happening through this particular process. Just one patient, it can be very different from patient A to patient B or patient B to patient C. Watch several patients go through and see how that process is either well equipped to handle some of the differences amongst the patients, or see how it might be too restrictive and need some help to better adapt and adjust to the different types of patients that we have to see in healthcare. And then the fourth part, take some notes. Bring a notepad. Bring a journal. Bring if possible, without compromising patient confidentiality, and you try to take pictures or videos. And I take a lot of videos of screens as clinicians are working in the different systems, and see how many clicks does it take, how many different screens do they have to interface with, how much scrolling do they have to do to be able to input information. All of these small movements add time. Additionally, they add hassle and frustration for the clinicians on the front lines that have to use this EMR over and over and over again. But take notes. This is where you can take notes of the things, because you're a fresh set of eyeballs. So sometimes people can be in that work environment and they get blinded a little bit to some of the challenges in that work environment, or they just make the assumption that this is just how it's going to be. But you'll be able to see these things because you're a fresh set of eyes, a new perspective coming into that job site. All right, the last one, ask questions. Don't miss the opportunity to ask people that are in this job every day what they think. They've probably already come up with ideas of how they could make their work go smoother, go easier, be more accurate. And if you miss out on asking them what their impressions or their opinions are, then we'll have missed a big potential resource for making that workplace better or making that process better. So going to the Gemba is just a starting point. It is just the introduction. It is just the beginning. From going there, you're going to gain knowledge, you're going to gain perspective, and it's going to help you make better suggestions, better ideas on how to improve that process. And it's going to help with buy-in as well, because the team there knows you spent the time with them to understand the work, to ask their suggestions, to ask their input. And now when you come back with suggestions of how to make things better, you're going to come back to the Gemba, try them out, see how they go, get their impressions and opinions, and you're going to have a much more successful change management process going that direction. So hopefully this helps you get started in improving processes. There's always improvements that can be made. So go forth, conquer, continuous improve, and we'll see you in the future here at Healthcare Managers Playbook. Thank you.